a humanitarian crisis in Nagorno-Karabakh. Yerevan has accused its neighbour of blocking a key supply route connecting the disputed enclave to Armenia. The commander of Ukraine's ground forces says his units have frustrated Russia's plans to take the town of Soledar and encircle Bakhmut by late December, but he said the Russians were pressing on with their offensive. A double car bomb attack in Hiran province in central Somalia has left at least 19 people dead. The Islamist group Al-Shabaab said it carried out the attack. Iran has said it will respond decisively to cartoons mocking the country's supreme leader in a French magazine. The publication, Charlie Hebdo, launched a competition for caricatures last month in support of the protests sweeping Iran. Climate protesters have sprayed the gates of the French Prime Minister's office with orange paint. Video footage online shows two shouting protesters being dragged away by police. The Colombian government says a ceasefire with ELN guerrillas has been suspended. It comes a day after Colombia's largest rebel group denied it had ever agreed to the 6-month deal. And the stars of the Oscar-winning 1960s film of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet are suing Paramount Pictures for sexual abuse. The actors say they were tricked into appearing in a nude scene as teenagers. Paramount has not yet responded to the claim. And that's the latest BBC News.
This morning on the Hinckley Institute Radio Hour, Utah legislators discuss the 2022 legislative session.
And it was 1 year of all this new money, and then the next year we cut $1.6 billion. Here we are 2 years later, and we have the largest budget ever. And believe it or not, that's actually really hard for the legislature. It seems like that's a wonderful thing, but it creates its own set of real challenges.
That's coming up later today at 10 a.m., right here on KCPW. Stardate January 4th. Snuggling close to the sun after this.
Connect your community with the cosmos by sponsoring Stardate on these airwaves. Email underwriting@kcpw.org.
Stardate January 4th. You might not need to break out the t-shirts, but Earth is getting its maximum dose of sunlight today. That's because we're at perihelion, our closest point to the sun for the entire year. Earth's average distance from the sun is about 93 million miles, but our planet's orbit is lopsided. So today, we're about 1.5 million miles closer than average. That means we get a little bit more sunlight than average. We don't actually feel the difference though, because the oceans and atmospheres spread the heat around. The date of perihelion isn't fixed. Instead, it drifts through the calendar. Around the year 1246, it occurred on the winter solstice in December. It moves a day later every 58 years or so. About 4,000 years from now, it'll take place on the spring equinox in March. Even now, the date can wobble a day in either direction from year to year. Part of that is the result of leap year. The perihelion moves a few hours later on the calendar each year, on average, until leap year, when it drops back. But the change is also influenced by the moon's position in its orbit around Earth. At some points, the moon's gravity is moving us a little closer to the sun, while at others, it's moving us a little farther. One impact of the close approach is a difference in the length of the seasons. Earth moves fastest when it's closest to the sun, so winter is the shortest season in the northern hemisphere. You can find out about McDonald Observatory visitor programs at mcdonaldobservatory.org. And for the McDonald Observatory, I'm Billy Henry.
This is KCPW 88.3 FM Salt Lake Public Radio, online at kcpw.org.
This is Jerry Gravlin with the City Library. Weekly children's story times have returned to the main library in all the branches. For parents and caregivers of little ones, there's Book Baby for children ages 0 to 3 and preschool story time for children ages 3 to 5. Virtual story times are still available through the website. More information is available at slcpl.org/kids.
I think it's story time.
BBC, I'm Rosie Hunting.
Let's return now to our top story, the interview that we did with the spokesman for the Jewish Power Party, in which we spoke the spokesman about the leader of the party, Itamar Ben-Gvir's visit to that holy site in Jerusalem, what he wants to do with the occupied Palestinian territories and his controversial past. This is what he said about his party's plan to annex the occupied West Bank.
First thing is that Israel is like I said, is like Taiwan within a major region, an Arab region, in which Jews have no rights. I mean, if we're talking about apartheid and racism, this is a region like Syria and Egypt. These are places that Jews have zero rights. Now here, you cannot even compare the liberal outlook of Israel to the Arab countries around us. However, we still have to protect our minority in this region. We have to understand that this is our tribal lands, and we have to protect our people from being overrun in various ways. How we're going to give the most people the most amount of rights is something to work out on.
That was Yishai Fleischer, who is the spokesman for Itamar Ben-Gvir. Let's speak now to Palestinian lawyer Raja Shehadeh, who has listened to the interview in full. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let's get your reaction first to the visit that the minister made to the compound yesterday.
I thought it was a provocative action, a political provocation and a demonstrative action, leading to creating trouble and controversy, and not a question of prayer.
It's not clear whether he did pray there or not, but the spokesman said to us, why couldn't he just go to this mosque when it's an important site for both religions?
Because there is a status quo which has been observed for the longest time. And even the Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox in Israel had prevented Jews from stepping into that holy of holies place. And he knew exactly that by going there, he was making a provocation, and he wanted to win political credit for his action rather than to do religious action. And the status quo is very important to preserve, and he is denying it. He is provoking it.
Is it unhelpful in your view that in all the condemnation that we've seen from both Arab countries as well as Palestinians, they have referred to the visit as the minister storming the compound, when none of the pictures indicate that that's what happened?
Well, in a sense, he is storming because he is going there with the mind to creating trouble and creating a storm, a political storm. And that gives reason to call it storming rather than visiting, because if he wanted really just to visit, he could have perhaps done an action with the Awqaf, who are responsible for the place, and arranged it in a more civilized manner than storming it, than just
showing up with all the cameras and all your people, making a big noise and fuss about it,
I wonder
going
what
live
you
on
make of,
Facebook,
we spoke to our correspondent
Instagram.
immediately after the interview that we ran,
you could have
because
called the
the
guy
spokesman
and
quite
went
clearly
and had
said
your prayer
that it wasn't necessarily the party's policy
you're supposed to.
annex the whole
Not
of the West Bank,
storming
and
the place
he didn't
with your
want to be drawn
cameraman
on it.
and
And
all
our
your
correspondent says that a lot of what he says has
That is
been
what he did.
modified now the party
Essentially.
is in the coalition. What is your greatest fear of what this particular coalition, the most right-wing government in Israel's history, is likely to do?
Well, it's not as though the previous governments were much kinder to the Palestinians and didn't violate international law in the occupied territories. But I think this party is going to do not structural changes to the way things were, but more of the same thing. In other words, more harassments, more discrimination, more house demolitions, more transfer of people, and more possibly annexation of parts of the West Bank. When the West Bank is occupied territory and should, according to international law, should not be annexed at all, and they should not even build settlements on it, which is all in violation of international law. So I'm afraid that what the present government is going to do is more of the same things that the previous governments have done, but in a less sensitive manner.
When you say in a less sensitive manner, I mean, to what extent do you think that the government led by Benjamin Netanyahu, this is his 6th term as Prime Minister, and you've already pointed to the fact that our previous governments were not necessarily kind to the Palestinians. I just wonder to what extent you and other Palestinians fear that his government now will be informed by those smaller parties with their extremist views.
I'm afraid this is going to be the case, and they're going to legalize settlements that are illegal, even under the structures provided by the Israeli government and the High Court. They are going to go back to settlements that have been declared evacuated by the High Court of Justice in Israel, and they will revoke some of the changes that have been taking place, which are in violation of international law, and more of the killings of Palestinians, and more of the house demolitions, and all these actions that are provocative and will create revolts by the Palestinians.
And yet, of course, both Mr. Fleischer and his party would argue that this is a democratically elected government.
Yes, it's democratically elected, but it's a racist government, and it has pronounced racist actions and racist positions towards the Arabs in Israel proper, and in
democratically elected. That makes them good, right? Because people voted for them
into peace by suppressing Palestinians, and even eventually getting rid of them by moving them out of their country. And that is nonsense, because the only way that peace can be made is by getting reconciliation, by getting the two groups together, by making peace between us, because we are destined as Israeli nation and Palestinian nation to live together in the same small plot of land.
Palestinian lawyer Raja Shahade joining us live. Thank you. Now, it seems hard to believe, but for decades, women in Cuba have been banned from competitive boxing. The rule has kept women out.
Sorry. That is an interesting story. I didn't even know that was happening. I watched the first interview with the representative from the Israeli party. I don't care either way, right? Like, I heard a statement from a spokesperson from the U.S. State Department or whatever, by the White House or something, and he was like, it is a serious affront to the status quo, and our official position is that we, oppose this strongly. It's like strong words and all this stuff, which sounds like actions. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna probably change their relationships and send ambassadors and delegations and all that, whatever, right? What he should have said was, that's terrible and none of my business. Anyways, and start talking about what was whatever, you know what I mean? I don't mean ignore it and none of my business, let them kill each other. I mean, like, whatever they're gonna do, don't do that. Because I'm sure they're gonna do something. Obviously they're talking about kind of being a little more on the Palestinian side this time, but whatever. That's not the story. Since I made it this far. I was like 12 years old, and we were all fucked up, messed up, had our problems and stuff, and we were poor, and there was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of other poor adults around our house drinking, virtually every day, and a lot of stuff going on. It was interesting. It was interesting. Around that time period of my life, I was living in the Midwestern United States, and I knew this girl. I was about 12, maybe 13. She was probably like 11 or 12, a year too younger, I think. And a lot of stuff happened, but long story short, one day, I'm stuck at this light again for a second. So, anyways, one day, we're making out, and long story short, I'm going down to eat her out, right? And so basically I go down and it's just regular whatever, I'm going to town. I don't really know what the hell I'm doing, so actually it isn't, just whatever. But basically right when I get down there, I kind of spread them apart. It's my first time ever doing this, mind you. I'm 12 years old, so I'm spreading the skin, spreading it apart, and right as I'm like going in, like with my tongue, my tongue goes in and spreads it apart some more, and as it moves up towards the top, I feel something like my tongue's going up and spreading it up towards the top, and I feel something fall on my tongue like a and it felt like a little triangle, like a 3D triangle, and it landed right on top of my tongue, and it was sour, and it burned. I mean, it was so sour. It was like the way I could describe it, I have described it. The way I remember it is like, I don't know when you were a kid, if you ever like stuck your tongue on a battery, like a 9-volt battery, and it's like sour, painful taste feel. Like that's what it tasted like not battery acid, but like the shock. Now I'm an electrician, so I've been electrocuted a few times. Not electrocuted, that means you die, but I've been shocked quite a few times. And if you get hit hard enough, or you get stuck to something, which is the scary part, if the voltage is high enough, you can actually taste it. It's sour, like a sour taste. And that's the sour taste you get. I thought about it later on. That's kind of like the sour taste, weird sour taste. Tastes like battery acid or like copper when you're licking the 9-volt battery. Like it shocks your tongue, but it also has like a really strong coppery, soury taste. When you get shocked, that you can taste that. That's like the taste of electricity or something. It's cool or not cool, whatever, interesting. But anyways, that's what I'm going in, and my tongue is going up, and that little triangle falls on my tongue, and it starts burning it like a 9-volt battery, sour little triangle thing. And I think it was like schmegma, like dry urine and stuff, just kind of built up at the top of the vaginal cavity, like in the front, kind of where the clitoris probably would be. Just stuff. It just wasn't. Yeah. Ugh, right. Now the taste of it made me want to puke, but I didn't really realize what was going on. I spit it out, kept going. I spelled the ABCs 2 or 3 times with my tongue and did all the things I had heard before, but obviously, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. And so, but later on in life, the thought of it made me want to throw up. It wasn't just the taste, it was also the thought of it. It was like, oh gosh, that's might have been what that was or something. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, that's this morning's story. I have to fill out a whole bunch of hours, so I've been recording just like scenery, like driving around and stuff. I might upload that, or if it's unedited, I try not to say horrible things while I'm driving, but I am driving, so if I say horrible things, I'll try to edit them out. I don't care, no one's watching these anyways. Yeah, so that was good. That was a good one. I'll do more stories while I'm driving. I have a long commute to work, so I can do that. Basically, Oh, this is the wrong side. I need to go over there, dude. I parked on the wrong side. I'm working in a different building. All the guys are like, what? I just like parked and pulled out and drove away. Yeah, so that's what happened. It's a true story. I remember it very vividly because it was kind of traumatizing, like how disgusting it was at the time, but I didn't really realize what it was, and so it wasn't really that messed up at the time. Like I said, I spit it out and finished, like what I was doing. So yeah, that was in the beginning. But you know, later on, as I kind of realized what it was, it kind of hits me harder, and then you realize, oh man, I am kind of fucked up. I mean, the fact that we were having sex at that age is a pretty good indicator that you're fucked up, right? So, but yeah, I mean, we didn't actually have sex. Like, there was no penetration. I mean, that's sex. I mean, we had oral sex and, you know, stuff like that all the time. So, yeah, for sure, definitely messed up. We were definitely messed up. But yeah, so yeah, that's one of my stories. I got a lot more where that came from. Again, just filling out time, mostly. Maybe I'll record and fill some more stories while I'm working. I don't know. But, yeah, we'll see. Okay. So I can park this close. I don't want to cover that light. I forgot that was on. I didn't want my coworkers to see that. Okay. We're here. Queer. I'm gonna turn off. Maybe I got some other good stories I can fucking